Good morning. It's about 9:29. I know we start going right at 9:30 on the recording there. Feels like it's been a long time since we were together. It's only been a week, but it's been a long week. See which one of these microphones is louder here. This is the louder one. Okay. We'll stay with this one. We still got about a minute. And Alex, if you could bring that house light up there for everyone. Thank you. Yeah. This is really, do I seem loud to you all? I'm trying to figure out which one I want to test one. I guess they're about the same. Okay. Something feels a little different, but that's okay. A little bit more feedback or something, I don't know. The monitor behind me probably is up a little. In any rate, we're going to be in chapter 45. Hopefully we can cover chapter 45 and 46 today. 45 and 46. And possibly 47. And I beg your forgiveness. I left my reading glasses at home, which means I'll probably stand about a foot. Looks like I'll be standing about 4 feet off my text. And Jamie is coming on shortly. I guess I'll read, unless you want to start reading. And Jamie will pick up when she comes on in. It's on. Yes, ma'am. It's on. I guess just a quick review. We know we're in chapter 45, and we're going to be hurrying to the end. Not hurrying to the end, but we're going to be coming to the end of Genesis here in the next couple of weeks. Chapter 45. Yes, ma'am. Verse 1. 45, verse 1. And I'm not certain how far we got to last week, but I thought that would be a good starting point for us for 45. It's the place where Joseph's brothers have returned to Egypt for the second time. They've got Benjamin with them. Joseph had, told his servant to take them to his house, and he was going to prepare a noon meal for them. And I guess they finished their meal. Now Joseph is talking to them. We're at the point to where Joseph is about to reveal himself to his brothers. He's about to reveal himself to his brothers, is where we are. And I thought that was a great stopping point. And this is why it's important to really not only when you're studying the book of Genesis, but you're going to want to flip back to when the brothers betrayed Joseph and they sold him into slavery, because this moment that Joseph is at right here, when we get to verse 2, you got to remember, or you got to think about or study, how long has Joseph been waiting for this moment in his life? How long has he been waiting for this moment in his life? Because when it says he cried, it's going to say that he cried so loud that the people in Pharaoh's house heard him. I mean, that's when you doing. I mean, you boo-hooing when the people in Pharaoh's house hear you cry. The people in the house next door. Imagine you crying so loud and your neighbors are hearing you cry and you yell. That's how Joseph cried. But the years that he's been waiting for this is the moment that we are. Because remember, there were 7 years of plenty. Joseph had interpreted Pharaoh's dream. 7 years of plenty. After the 7 years of plenty, the famine starts. His brothers come the first time, and Joseph helps them. And you all remember how Joseph tested them when he tested them, and he kept Simeon there in jail. And he lets them go back, and he says, you don't come back unless you bring Benjamin with you. And remember who Benjamin, she's here now, she's early. And we remember who Benjamin was. Remember, Benjamin and Joseph are the two sons of Rachel, who was the wife of Jacob, whom Jacob loved more than Leah, his other wife. I'll walk it over for you. Thank you. There you go. And so now Joseph sees Benjamin. Benjamin is the brother that Joseph has not seen in years, who Joseph wasn't sure he was ever going to see again. Well, he knew he was, but he just didn't know when. And he was waiting for this moment. And remember, this all started when Joseph received a vision from God when he was yet a teenager. Let's say he was 16 years old. He received a vision from God. And now he's been waiting all these years for this moment in his life. And that's where we pick it up in 45.
Well, I've got marked that we left off in verse 28 and 44. So you want me to just go ahead and read those last few verses?
Yeah, just go ahead and read those last ones, finish it up.
Okay. And the one went out from me, and I said, surely he is torn in pieces, and I saw him not since. And if ye take this also from me, and mischief befall him, ye shall bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave.
What we're in 45, this is Judah, 44. This is Judah speaking on behalf of Benjamin. Because remember, Joseph had set them up and put his cup in Benjamin's bag. And Joseph had his servants chase after them. And the brothers said, whoever cup you find, if you find the cup, that person should become a slave of yours. And Judah had made a promise to his father Jacob that let us take Benjamin with us to Egypt, and if we don't bring Benjamin back, hold me responsible. So now Judah is pleading with Joseph for Benjamin's life, and Judah saying, take me, let Benjamin stay. And this is the last test that Joseph is testing his brothers. Because remember, all this is just a test to see if they've changed. Because before they hadn't changed, they were willing to they weren't willing, they did. They sold Joseph into slavery for their own benefit. And you can go back to chapter 26 for that. They wanted to kill Joseph, and we'll go back there in a minute when we get there. But they sold Joseph into slavery, and they split the proceeds of it. So now Judah is explaining to Joseph that please let us take Benjamin back home to my father. Go ahead and read on, Jamie.
Well, I like that quote. I think I'm going to remember it and use it on you.
Which quote was that?
Ye shall bring down my gray hairs with sorrow to the grave.
All right, y'all, that's enough of all that. We can go on. Okay.
Now, therefore, when I come to thy servant my father, and the lad be not with us,
Benjamin.
Seeing that his life is bound up in the lad's life, it shall come to pass, when he seeth that the lad is not with us, that he will die. And thy servants shall bring down the gray hairs of thy servant our father with sorrow to the grave.
Come on.
For thy servant became surety for the lad unto my father, saying, if I bring him not unto thee, then I shall bear the blame to my father forever.
That's the promise that Judah made to his father Jacob about Benjamin, because Jacob was not willing to allow Benjamin to go back to Egypt with the brothers, because maybe Jacob had assumed that Simeon was dead now, not just in jail in Egypt. Simeon was probably going to be killed, and Joseph was already dead. So Jacob figured, I'm not going to send my son Benjamin, who I love more than all of you, to Egypt. But God orchestrated the famine to where they ran out of food. Because remember, there's only one person on the planet that God has revealed how long this famine is going to last, and that's Joseph. Nobody else knows. Well, Joseph told Pharaoh, but Joseph knows how long this 7 years is. Jacob, in the promised land in Canaan, Jacob doesn't know. And Jacob was thinking, well, maybe the provisions that you all bought with you back from Egypt, maybe those provisions are going to last. Now, why am I saying all this? I'm saying all that to say this. Sometimes God will orchestrate events in our life to happen to push us to a place that we wouldn't have never chosen to be unless those events happened in our life and unless God allowed them to happen. God allowed a famine to happen in the land where Jacob was, because Jacob was not going to leave that promised land. And then when they brought back the provisions, Jacob said, maybe this is enough, it can last us. It was only till they ran out of food that he sent the sons back. Joseph knew they were coming because he knew how much food he gave them. But he didn't know when they were coming. The Lord knew when they were coming. Jacob had no plans of ever sending his sons to Egypt, nor did he have any plans of ever going to Egypt himself. But God has a way of allowing events to happen in our life to get us to a place that we're destined to be, that we look back and say, I would have never made those decisions except that, and that had happened to me in my life. And we could go around this room and each one of us has a story to where we say, well, how'd you get here? And you'll say, well, if and then you look back, you say, it was God allowing things to happen in my life. And before you say, well, wait a minute, but the brothers sinned against Joseph, when we get there in a minute, you're right, they did. Okay, come on, Jamie, read on. Which verse?
33.
33, okay.
Now therefore I pray thee, let thy servant abide instead of the lad, a bondman to my Lord, and let the lad go up with his brethren.
Mm-hmm.
For how shall I go up to my father, and the lad be not with me? Lest peradventure I see the evil that shall come on my father.
Meaning my father will be so distraught he's going to die. Because he loved Benjamin, and Benjamin is his life. And if he was to lose Benjamin, he wouldn't want to live himself. So you got to let us take Benjamin back with you. And they don't realize they're looking at their brother Joseph. Come on, Jamie. 45. Anybody have any more questions or comments about chapter 44? Any? Okay, let's move on.
Then Joseph could not refrain himself before all them that stood by him, and he cried, Cause every man to go out from me. And there stood no man with him, while Joseph made himself known unto his brethren.
Remember, Joseph is still number 2 in Egypt. Even though he knows that he's the younger brother of 10 of these men standing here, he's still number 2 man in command in Egypt. He's got to keep protocol. He can't show weakness right now to his servants. So he puts everybody out of the room for this moment. Puts everybody out. Y'all get out of the room, because he couldn't contain it anymore. Why? Because he's out of tests. The brothers have passed all the tests. It's time to reveal myself to you, right? It's time to reveal myself to you. Now, when you're looking through this, think about the gospel of Jesus Christ and him revealing himself to us. And then I think about the nation of Israel, where they're being blinded right now. But look at Zechariah 12 and 10. And I'm sorry, Jamie, I should have given you that scripture. But look at Zechariah 12 and 10. There's a prophecy that the Lord is going to reveal himself to his people. And even though they don't know who he is, one day they will see Jesus and realize Jesus for who he is. Zechariah 12 and 10. I don't have it. I don't. Well, I'll wait till you get there. Because when Joseph, in verse 2 here, and I'll go ahead and start this while she's going there. Joseph in verse 2, it says, and he wept aloud, and the Egyptians and the house of Pharaoh heard. That's some loud crying right there. I mean, many times when we cry in our life, there's few times in our life where we have cried uncontrollably. And Joseph is at the point to where he is crying uncontrollably. Zechariah 12 and 10.
And I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace, of supplications, and they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him. They shall look upon me whom they have pierced. The nation of Israel, remember, they offered Jesus up to be crucified. They did not know him. But in Revelation, it declares that one day they will see Jesus and they will know him. Come on. Oh, read on. I'm sorry.
The rest of 10 in Zacharias, or go back?
Oh, a little bit more of 10. Yeah.
And they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn.
Thank you. Something you may want to highlight if you ever get into that discussion with someone about Israel and them not knowing and not accepting who Jesus is right now. There's prophecy that's coming that one day they're going to see him and they're going to know him. When that day is, I don't know. We don't know. The Lord knows. Okay. Back to 45.
And he wept aloud, and the Egyptians and the house of the Pharaoh heard.
Mm-hmm.
And Joseph said unto his brethren, I am Joseph. Doth my father yet live? And his brethren could not answer him, for they were troubled at his
Hey,
presence.
listen, how many years has Joseph been waiting for that moment to say, I am Joseph? We know it's been at least, I don't know, I'm thinking it's been at least a year since they were before him in Israel, because it's going to tell us in a moment that Joseph is going to tell his brothers, this famine is only 2 years old, and it's going to be 5 more years of famine. That's where he's going to tell them, go get our father. But remember, when Joseph was sold to Egypt, he was in Potiphar's house for, we think, 8 years. He was in prison for we think, 2 years. After prison, remember, he interprets Pharaoh's dream. When he interprets Pharaoh's dream, he says there's going to be 7 years of plenty. So they've gone through the 7 years of plenty. So that's 7 more years. So we're 17 years in. Now we're at least a year into the famine. And you can check it. So we're at least a year into the famine. How many years is that? That's 8, 10, 17, 18. He's been waiting 18 years for this moment right here. And if he was 16 or 17 years old when they first sold him into slavery, Joseph is now in his mid-30s. He's been waiting for 18 years, almost 2 decades, for this moment right here, for him to say, hey guys, I'm Joseph. I get why he cried so loud, man. I mean, man, my wife will tell you, I don't want to go 5 minutes for waiting for something as impatient as I am sometimes. But you talking about waiting 18 years for something, something that God told you you're going to do one day and reveal yourself, and you're going to be the savior for your people, for your nation. 18 years, you bet he cried. I mean, I was sitting there last night, I got to adding up the number of years, and this is how long this has been just in Joseph's mind. Like, okay, one day I'm going to reveal myself to my brothers. One day I'm going to do this. And in a minute, we're going to see Joseph's growth, because if my brothers were to take me, put me in chains, throw me in a pit, pull me out, sell me to some Ishmaelites, then I go to Egypt and I get sold on the slavery trade table. Then I have to go in somebody's house and I got to serve him and his wife. And then the wife makes sexual advances at me, and now she lies on me. I get put in prison, and you guys are the reason all this happened to me, and I can forgive you for all of that? Because that's what he does. He forgives his brothers. Watch this. Come on, read on, Jamie, if you would.
And Joseph said unto his brethren, Come near to me, I pray you. And they came near. And he said, I am Joseph your brother, whom ye sold into Egypt.
Come on.
Now therefore be not grieved, nor angry with yourselves, that ye sold me hither. For God did send me before you to preserve life.
That's the gospel, y'all. That's the gospel, man. Because what we want to do when we come to the Lord with our sin, sometimes we want to pretend that some of the sin didn't happen. We want to pretend that we didn't do everything that we know we did. And even though you never proclaim it, you never speak it to yourself, the Lord knows exactly what you did. Even those little secret things that you did, the Lord knows all those. So as Joseph is standing before his brothers and he says, you sold me into Egypt, all 10 of them, not Benjamin, but all 10 of them, they can't say, no, we didn't, because they did. You can't say to the Lord, I didn't sin against you, because you did. So when you come to God and you give your life to him and you confess your sins, the gospel is he already knows where you're sin. He just wants your confession, your whole confession, right? Your whole confession. Confess the whole to him. Joseph said, I know what you did to me. But look what else he says. He says, for God did send me here to preserve life. Joseph says, What you meant for bad, the Lord meant for good. What you meant for bad, the Lord meant for good. Sometimes bad things happen to good people. I don't know why. I don't know why bad things happen to good people. Joseph was one of the best. If you was to point to one of the best people in the Old Testament, it'd be Joseph. Why did a bad thing happen to Joseph? I don't know. Was it wrong for the brothers to sell him in Egypt? Yes. Did they do it? Yes. Was it God's ultimate plan that he be in Egypt and be the number 2 in charge of Egypt? Yes. And what we do is we try to reason through that stuff. And sometimes we just say, it's God. God allowed that. Right? Come on. Where we at?
6.
We're verse 6. Because Joseph says, don't be angry with yourselves. Y'all, the worst thing that, man, I know I'm preaching, but the worst thing to get over sometime is not the fact that God has given you forgiveness for your sin. The worst thing for you to get over is the guilt that you have behind the sin that you committed. Because we're going to see it in a couple chapters. The brothers never get over the fact that they think Joseph is going to take revenge on them. If you'll read ahead a couple chapters, when Jacob dies, the brothers think Joseph has been waiting for Joseph for their father to die, that he gonna put us, he gonna come get us, he gonna kill us. That's what he said. That's what they think, but they don't realize when Joseph forgave you, he forgave you. When God forgives us, he forgives us. I used to think for a long time that, boy, the Lord was really gonna something was bad just gonna happen to me. And I said, Lord, I deserve it. And then I realized God's forgiveness, he forgave me for my sin. And he forgave me for my sin. I've got to let go of that guilt that I have. And the brothers live with this guilt for a couple of chapters. We'll see in a couple of chapters, y'all. They don't get over the guilt. Read on, Jamie, if you would.
For these 2 years hath the famine been in the land, and yet there are 5 years.
See how God gives us a date stamp on the famine? See how he lets us know the famine's been there for 2 years. What we don't know is how long had the famine been going when the brothers first came to Egypt. But we know the famine's been 2 years. And Joseph is saying, hey guys, y'all got 5 more years. We got 5 more years of this famine. Come on, read on, Jamie.
And yet there are 5 years in the which there shall neither be earing nor harvest.
Mm.
And it says earing means plowing.
Yeah.
And God sent me before you to preserve you a posterity in the earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance.
Man, that is some wisdom and growth right there. Because I'm standing there looking at somebody that did one of the worst things to me you can ever do to a person. And now I'm forgiving you and saying, it was God's ultimate purpose that I come before you so I can be here to preserve a place for you. I don't know how many of us can do that. I'm telling you, I know, because I'd be like, no, I don't deal with him. I don't deal with her after doing that to me. But Joseph said, you're my family. I came here to take care of you. Come on, read on, Jamie.
So now it was not you that sent me hither, but God. And he hath made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Egypt. Haste ye, and go up to my father, and say unto him, Thus saith thy son Joseph, God hath made me Lord of all Egypt. Come down unto me, tarry not.
Mm-hmm.
And thou shalt dwell in the land of Goshen, and thou shalt be near unto me, thou and thy children, and thy children's children, and thy flocks, and thy herds, and all that thou hast. And there will I nourish thee, for yet there are 5 years of famine, lest thou and thy household and all that thou hast come to poverty.
Which verse are you?
12.
Okay. Oh, I was way ahead of you. I'm sorry. I'm way over there.
And behold, your eyes see, and the eyes...
You see how the Lord repeats how much longer the famine is, gives us a date. I always feel, I believe that when the Lord repeats something in Scripture, he's getting a point across to us, saying, hey, you got 5 more years. You got 5 more years. Meaning, if it was just 1 year, they say, hey, we think we can make it. And Joseph was saying, you're not going to make it through this famine. but it's destiny for the entire family of Jacob to come here to Egypt. And I'm going to give you the land of Goshen, which we're going to find out here in a minute. That's the best land in Israel because, they're farmers and herders. And not in Israel, in Egypt. That's the best land in Egypt. And remember, we talked a couple weeks ago, Egypt, an Egyptian does not socialize with anyone outside of an Egyptian. It is believed that in Egypt was a very racially segregated nation at that time. It was Egyptian rule and everybody else. So here comes the Israelites in, and God is doing this to preserve the nation of Israel. Because the other thing you can look at is all throughout here, remember when the people of the land would try to make a covenant with Abraham, Abraham would say, don't marry anyone of the land. Remember Jacob, don't marry anyone of the land. So now God is allowing the nation of Israel, right now the family of Jacob, to come down into Egypt to preserve them so that they will not be assimilated into the promised land of Canaan, so that they would go there so that they could not only just be a family, but that family is going to grow into a nation. Because we're going to see when they come into Egypt, only about 70 or 75 of them come into Egypt. But when they go out, it's going to be millions 400 years later. All right. Read on, Jamie. Which verse are you?
12.
Verse 12.
And behold, your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin, that it is my mouth that speaketh unto you.
He's saying that because the brothers probably still can't believe their eyes. Joseph, I can't believe it's you. It's been 20-something years. We thought you were dead. Y'all know that little family thing that you have sometime in families that you don't talk about? Joseph was the subject of the family that the family didn't talk about. They didn't talk about Egypt because they knew they had sold Joseph to Egypt. Remember a couple chapters ago when their father said, go to Egypt and buy us provisions? And the brothers looked at each other and the father says, okay, what's going on? Nobody would say it. That's the little secret in the family that nobody wants to talk about. And now this secret is out. And the brothers have to go back and tell their father, we've been lying to you for 20-something years. Imagine how that conversation is going, right? And then how do they identify Joseph? Does he have like a birthmark or some kind of distinguishing feature about him? I know, he's Jewish, look like them, but there was something about Joseph that they could look at and say, yeah, you Joseph. He probably told them something that happened when he was a child, and they said only he would know that. Maybe something about him, and they said, yeah. I can't believe it. It's just God, because we thought you was dead. And Joseph, and us, we'd probably say, well, you never came looking for me. Obviously, you thought I was dead. Joseph didn't say that. Joseph said, I forgive you. Let's read on, Jamie. Which verse? 13. Man, we might get to 46. Okay.
And ye shall tell my father and all my glory in Egypt, and of all that ye have seen, and ye shall haste and bring down my father hither.
Mm-hmm.
And he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept upon his neck.
Man, that's some kind of cry. Remember, their mother's dead. Rachel died. She died giving birth to Benjamin. This is the only physical thing that Joseph has left of his mother. And he cried on Benjamin's neck, and Benjamin cried on his neck. Man, come on, read on. Which verse? 15?
Moreover, he kissed all his brethren and wept upon them. And after that, his brethren talked with him.
Y'all, that was a conversation there. Hey, Judah, how you doing? Are you married now? How many kids you got, man? How the kids doing? What are their names? What are their ages? To each one of them. Because remember, Joseph has 2 sons also. So they got to meet Joseph's sons. That's one heck of a family reunion, just to meet them all. Read on, Jamie.
And the fame thereof was heard in Pharaoh's house,
Mm-hmm.
saying, Joseph's brethren are come, and it pleased Pharaoh well and his servants. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, say unto thy brethren, this do ye, Lade your beasts and go get you unto the land of Canaan, and take your father and your households, and come unto me, and I will give you the good of the land of Egypt, and ye shall eat the fat of the land.
Goshen. Goshen ends up being the best land in Egypt for growing, for fertile, because the Egyptians weren't cattlemen. The Jewish people, they knew how to grow, they knew herdsmen, they knew how to live off the land. So Joseph knew that Pharaoh would give them the best of the land. And maybe Joseph, in the back of his mind, remember he was preparing Egypt for the famine. Maybe Joseph knew in the back of his mind, maybe the Lord had revealed to him, don't put nobody in Goshen, because when your family comes, that's where you're going to put them. You know how we do some things? Sometimes we make some decisions in life, and someone say, why don't we do that right now? And you say, I can't tell you why we're not doing that right now, but I know that's going to serve a purpose later. Maybe that's why no one was in the land of Goshen, because Joseph knew one day when my family comes, that's going to be where they'll go, because Pharaoh gives it to them. I don't know, maybe he told people you got to move because that's where they're going. Okay, come on, read, Jamie.
Now thou art commanded, this do ye, take ye wagons out of the land of Egypt for your little ones and for your wives, and bring your father and come. Also regard not your stuff, for the good of all the land of Egypt is yours. And the children of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them wagons according to the commandment of Pharaoh, and gave them provisions for the way. To all of them he gave each man changes of raiment, but to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of raiment.
Even more proof how much more he loved his brother Benjamin.
And to his father he sent after this manner 10 asses laden with the good things of Egypt, and 10 she-asses laden with corn and bread and meat for his father by the way. And he sent his brethren away, and they departed, and he said unto them, see that ye fall not out by the way. And they went up out of Egypt and came into the land of Canaan unto Jacob their father.
I think when Joseph told them, see that you fall not out of the way, one thing Joseph knew is Joseph knew his brothers. And if you know your brothers or your sisters, you know, hey, they have a habit sometime of tarrying a little too longer in one place than another. And he's like, hey, go straight there. Don't stop for nothing. Don't take your time. Go there and get my father and come back. Because he tells them, see that you don't tarry. He probably knew, man, these brothers have a way of getting caught up in some stuff and taking their time and then coming. No, don't do that. Go straight there. Got a purpose, and get back here. Right.
We're talking about them,
Joseph's brothers.
Our family.
No, we're talking about his brothers. Come on.
And told him, saying, Joseph is yet alive, and he is governor over all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart fainted, for he believed them not.
Would you believe him? I wouldn't have believed him either right away. Because you've been telling me for 25 years, my son is dead. You even brought me a robe full of blood that you bought as a lie to say he's dead. Now you're coming back to me, and you got to walk in and say, hey, Pops, we got to talk. And,
And that's another reason not to tarry.
Right.
Not to take time.
Yeah.
Dreading.
But I mean, it's like we come and say, I need you to sit down. Right? I need you to sit down. I need you to just listen to us. Just listen. We got bad news, we got good news, right? That's what that is. The bad news is we lied. We told you a lie. And we were all in on the lie. Because you can't deny it and say, well, it wasn't me, Daddy. I wanted to tell you. No, you went with it. It goes back to confessing your sin. You can't make an excuse to God and say, well, this is why no, you did it, right? That's all I want. Yes, you did it. and the Lord forgives you for it. But if you don't admit it, you're the problem. God says, I'm not the problem. You're the problem, right? And so they come to him and they say, we got to talk. Okay, come on, Jamie, read on. Which verse?
27.
27, okay.
And they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had said unto them. And when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of Jacob, their father, revived.
It's only until he saw the blessings of God, the blessings of Joseph sent to him, that his spirit was revived. Sometimes, man, we don't want to believe God. We're walking by faith. Our faith is weak. Our faith is I've been at a place to where my faith has been so weak, and I'm still moving forward. But okay, Lord, I'm walking by faith. And then when I've been waiting on and thinking maybe it might not, but I'm still moving. When the Lord reveals it and gives it and showers it upon me, then that's when I say, Lord, you are God. And Lord, I am sorry that that my faith was weak. I'm sorry, Lord. And this is where Jacob is. Jacob said, I don't believe he's number 2 in Egypt. I don't believe it. But then when he saw all those wagons coming, he probably said, my God, my son is number 2 in Egypt. We gonna move to Egypt because all of the famine is over. We are going. Because remember how tough it probably was for them there. That they were on meal restrictions probably. You can only eat this. You can't eat that much. Got to eat that. Got to let it stretch. Y'all remember how it was when we were little? You got to make it stretch. We got to do this. We got to. I don't even think I drink red Kool-Aid no more. And I don't eat any of those little, what do they call it, little Vienna sausage? Can't stand those, right? Can't stand those. But I used to wear them out because that's what we could afford, right? That's all we could afford. But everybody has a food that when you were younger, if you struggled when you were growing up and you grew up with in a family where we kind of went from one to another. I remember a little 2-pound bag of pinto beans at the store would cost my mother $2.02 because she would send me to the store to get it on the corner. I'd walk with the money in my pocket and I'd pay them $2.02 for a 2-pound bag of pinto beans. And now, and you remember things like that, and through that it helps you grow and appreciate things as you get older in life. So I'm sure when Jacob saw that, he was like, my God, my son lives, right? And we reach a point in our lives where we say, my God lives. Because of all the bad news that's going on in the world, the Lord gives us some comfort and something in our life that we say, my God still lives. And my God has always lived, and he's still on the throne, right? Let's read on. Which verse? 28.
And Israel said, it is enough. Joseph, my son, is yet alive. I will go and see him before I die.
Jacob is old. Jacob thought he was going to die in the promised land. Now the Lord is going to tell Jacob where he's going to die. Let's read on. This chapter 46. Any questions on chapter 45 before we move? Any questions on 45? Okay, come on. Read 46.
And Israel took his journey with all that he had, and came to Beersheba, and offered sacrifices unto the God of his father Isaac. And God spake unto Israel in the
Remember it was Beersheba where Abraham had planted a tamarisk tree many years before, and he called upon the name of the Lord. Isaac received a very famous promise from God, and he built an altar there. So Beersheba was a special place in Jacob's family. So Jacob goes there probably to offer sacrifice and to worship the Lord before he leaves the land. And as he's laying down to sleep that night, the Lord speaks to Jacob and gives him confirmation, the fact that you're going to Egypt and this is where I wanted you to go. And if you remember, he told Jacob that, and he had originally told Abraham that your people are going to move to a land and they're going to be foreigners in a land. And I'm going to come and visit them after a number of years and bring them back to the promised land. This is prophecy that we have been reading about throughout the book of Genesis since chapter 13, since Abraham came onto the scene. Jacob is simply fulfilling the prophecy of his grandfather, is all Jacob's doing. And sometimes in our life, we're just continuing the legacy of our family. And our job is to pass the baton on to the next generation. That's all our job is to just pass it on to the next generation. That's it. Read on, Jamie. Which verse are you, 2?
Yep.
Okay.
And God spake unto Israel in the visions of the night and said, Jacob, Jacob. And he said, Here am I. And he said, I am God, the God of thy father. Fear not to go down into Egypt, for I will there make of thee a great nation.
Look at that right there. He calls him Israel in verse 1. He tells him in verse 3 that I'm going to make you a great nation. Because right now, what are they? They're just a family of farmers and sheep herders is all they are right now. That's all they are. We're going to read in a minute, there's only about 70 of them right now. And when you go over to, and there's a little bit of discrepancy because there's only about 70 of them, but in chapter, and I don't know if I wrote it down, is it chapter 7 of Acts when Stephen gives his testimony? He says there's 75. And it's a little bit of they say it's the interpretation from the Septuagint that Stephen says there's 75. But there's only roughly 70 in the family right now. But God is telling Jacob in a dream, don't be afraid to go down into Egypt because it's there that I'm going to make you into a great nation. Sometimes God has to get us to a place in order to develop us to where we wouldn't have never developed the place where we were. And we don't want to go there, so God gives Jacob confirmation, go. Look at what else he tells him. Come on, we got about 9 minutes. We're doing great.
I will go down with thee into Egypt, and I will also surely bring thee up again. And Joseph shall put his hand upon thy eyes.
Meaning, Jacob, you're going to die in Egypt. But the family, the nation that came out of you, they're going to come out a great nation, but not you. You're going to die there. Joseph is going to put his hands upon your eyes. He's going to close your eyes for the last time. Right? He's going to close your eyes for the last time. I remember my grandmother passed. They came into the hospital room and had to close her eyes, because we passed sometime with our eyes open. And he's letting Jacob know that, Jacob, you're doing this, but your time on earth is coming to a close. And you got to get your family to Egypt to preserve them, but Joseph is there. And I've sent Joseph ahead of you to preserve a place for you. And as I've sent him ahead of you to preserve that place for you, your job, your legacy is coming to a close on this earth. But this is what I've asked you to do. Come on, read on, Jamie. Where are we? 5.
And Jacob rose up from Beersheba, and the sons of Israel carried Jacob their father and their little ones and their wives in the wagons which Pharaoh had sent to carry him. And they took their cattle and their goods which they had gotten in the land of Canaan, and came into Egypt, Jacob and all his seed with him. His sons and his sons with him, his daughters and his sons' daughters, and all his seed brought he with him into Egypt.
Can y'all imagine how they were traveling? I mean, that was probably a slow travel. It was. It was probably a slow travel. But it says Jacob and all of his seed with him, meaning no one stayed back. Everybody went. Read on, Jamie, if you would. Thank God you're reading these names, not me.
And these are the names of the children of Israel, which came into Egypt, Jacob and his sons. Reuben, Jacob's firstborn. And the sons of Reuben, Hanok and Phalu and Hezron and Carmi. And the sons of Simeon, Jemuel and Jamin and Ohad and Jachin and Zohar and Shaul, the son of Canaanitish women. And the sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari.
Well, you didn't even take a stab at that one. Come on.
I did. And the sons of Judah, and and Onan, and Shelah, and Pharez, and Zerah, But and Onan died in the land of Canaan.
And you all remember that when and Onan died, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And the sons of Pharez were Hezron and Hamul.
Mm-hmm.
And the sons of Issachar, Tola and Phuva and Job and Shimron.
Mm-hmm.
And the sons of Zebulun, Sered and Elon and Jaleel. These be the sons of Leah, which she bare unto Jacob in Panamram, and his daughter Dinah, and all the souls of his sons and his daughters were 33.
Mm-hmm.
And the sons of Gad, Zephion and Haggai, Shuni and Esbon, Eri and Arodi and Areli.
Mm-hmm.
And the sons of Asher, Jimnah and Ishua and Izua and Beriah and Sarah their sister, and the sons of Beriah, Heber and Machil.
Mm-hmm.
These are the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to Leah his daughter, and these she bare unto Jacob, even 16 souls.
And you all remember that little ordeal when Jacob married Leah and then married Rachel. And remember, Leah had given birth to her sons and she stopped having children. And then she gave her handmaiden to Jacob, and Jacob laid with the handmaiden. And then Rachel gave Jacob her handmaiden, and Jacob laid with her. And then Jacob ended up found. This is just giving you a summary of all of that we've studied over the last couple months. Read on, Jamie, if you would.
The sons of Rachel, Jacob's wife, Joseph and Benjamin. And unto Joseph in the land of Egypt were born Manasseh and Ephraim, which Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of Onan, bare unto him. And the sons of Benjamin were Bela and Becher and Ashbel, Gera and Naaman, Ephi and Rosh, Muppim and Huppim and Ard.
And you remember a couple of chapters back when Benjamin was referred to as a lad. And when you read that, you refer to him as a lad. And ordinarily, you think a lad is someone that's, maybe younger, maybe in his 12, 13s. But this is even more confirmation that Benjamin wasn't just a lad. He was a grown man that not only had a wife, but had children as well. So this is more confirmation of it. If you kind of wonder, well, it says he was a lad. It just means he was the youngest of all the brothers. Read on.
These are the sons of Rachel, which were born to Jacob. All the souls were 14.
Mm-hmm.
And the sons of Dan, Husham. And the sons of Naphtali, Jaziel and Guni and Jezer and Shillem. These are the sons of Bilhah, which Laban gave unto Rachel his daughter, and she bare these unto Jacob. All the souls were 7.
Mm-hmm.
All the souls that came with Jacob into Egypt, which came out of his loins, besides Jacob's sons' wives, all the souls were 66. And the sons of Joseph, which were born him in Egypt, were 2 souls. All the souls of the house of Jacob, which came into Egypt, were 70. And he sent Judah before him unto Joseph to direct his face unto Goshen.
Remember, Joseph has already worked this out with Pharaoh, that he's going to give them the land of Goshen. So Judah was probably, he went ahead of the family. That would have been easy to do. He's probably traveling by himself. The family's traveling slow. It's almost 70 of them. It's a slow travel. He goes ahead to preserve them. What we call it in the military, the advance party. Yeah, Judah's the advance party. He gets there. When everybody gets here, this is where you're going. That's all that was. Okay, come on.
And they came into the land of Goshen. And Joseph made ready his chariot, and went up to meet Israel his father to Goshen, and presented himself unto him. And he fell on his neck, and wept on his neck a good while.
I mean, this is something Joseph, like I said, Joseph been waiting on for. He finally sees his father, man. I mean, after Joseph, and remember, Joseph wasn't sure if his father was dead. Because remember, he kept asking, does my father yet live? How is your father? How is the old man? The last 3 chapters, Joseph has asked about his father, I don't know how many times. How's he doing? Is he well? Does he yet live? And he's been waiting for this moment to see his father. But he can't leave Egypt, remember, because Joseph is number 2 in command. He can't just say, I'm gonna go. He's got responsibilities. Okay, read on. Which verse?
30.
30. Okay, good. We'll finish this chapter. We're good.
And Israel said unto Joseph, Now let me die, since I have seen thy face, because thou art yet alive.
Right.
And Joseph said unto his brethren and unto his father's house, I will go up and show Pharaoh, and say unto him, My brethren and my father's house, which were in the land of Canaan, are come unto me.
Mm-hmm.
And the men are shepherds, for their trade hath been to feed cattle, and they have brought their flocks and their herds and all that they have. And it shall come to pass, when Pharaoh shall call you, and shall say, What is your occupation?
Because you're not going to live there for free. I love you. You're my family. You're coming here. I got a place for you. We put you in the best place. You're in the best land. But we still in a famine here, y'all. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, and you're not going to live for free. So I know Pharaoh. So you got to contribute. So this is what you say to Pharaoh. Joseph knew Pharaoh, right? Because he was number 2 in command. He said, I was like a father to Pharaoh. Remember, Pharaoh had said, whatever Joseph tell y'all to do, you do it. So Joseph knew what Pharaoh was going to do. So he's directing his brothers, hey, listen, this is what you say to Pharaoh when he asks you, what is your occupation? Because he'll leave you all alone over there. Why? Because Egyptians are not sheep herders. We're going to find out here in a minute what an Egyptian thinks of a sheep herder and a farmer. Right? And Joseph knows that's how they feel, but he knows how to work with Pharaoh. He knows how to work with it. And that's what we have to realize. And we know we got some difficult people that you got to know, right? Because he's earned his respect. Come on, read on, Jamie. We'll finish up.
That ye shall say, Thy servant's trade hath been about cattle from our youth even until now, both we and also our fathers, that ye may dwell in the land of Goshen, for every shepherd is an abomination unto the Egyptians.
That's what they felt like. Every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians. And Joseph knew that Pharaoh was going to leave them alone and leave them in their land until Pharaoh dies. And we'll see that in a couple chapters. But this is the end of 46. We'll pick up 47 and 48 next week when we come. Any questions, y'all? I've really enjoyed this hour. I really have. And Jamie, tell you, man, I've been wore out last couple of weeks because I feel like this week was 3 weeks long. I don't know why. It just felt that way. But thank y'all so much. Next week we'll pick up 47, 48. If you want to go ahead and read to the end and look at and get to when Jacob dies, when Jacob gives his blessings to the brother. That's a very interesting read that you really got to look at, okay? But let's pray and we'll be dismissed. Lord, we thank you for this time that we spent together. Thank you for each and every one that has come out. Lord, we ask blessings upon those that could not be with us here in the sanctuary today.